Chapter 16, The Lieutenant's Office. Associate Warden Smith was leaving the lieutenant's office when an alarm sounded in C cell house. Racing down center hallway, Smith hurried through the steel doors into the Cuban cell block where flames and thick smoke was pouring from cell 124. John Steeder, the guard on duty, was dragging an unconscious Cuban prisoner from the cell. Another guard went inside with a fire extinguisher. Hundreds of arms thrust out between the bars as Cuban prisoners in other cells tried to see down the tier, using the crystals on their wristwatches as mirrors. Streeter used his fingers to clear the prisoner's mouth, then began pushing on his chest. A physician's assistant hurried into the cell block and took over. He snapped an oxygen mask over the Cuban's face and turned on the nozzle of a portable green oxygen tank. The man gagged. His entire body trembled. His head swung from side to side. The Cuban was dressed in badly wrinkled, filthy khaki trousers and a worn pair of blue nylon socks. His kinky hair was dirty. His face was unshaven. His chest was a canvas of tattoos. A halo of Madonna rose from his flabby belly, a red-tongued serpent wrapping around a naked woman with huge breasts and yellow hair decorated one arm. A dagger stabbed into a human skull adorned the other. The Cuban looked spent, as if his life had been sucked out from inside him, leaving only a limp torso behind. As the oxygen slowly took effect, he began to moan through the mask. More than a dozen guards had answered the alarm. Now they began to disperse. The medic said, "I got a pretty strong pulse. He's going to make it." "What happened?" asked Smith. "He's a porcelain termite," said Lieutenant. "What happened?" asked Smith. "He's a porcelain termite," said Lieutenant Myhan, who was in charge. "He's destroyed the sinks and toilets in 2 cells since he's been here, but this is the first time he started his cell on fire." Myhan explained that the Cuban had placed his mattress against the front bars of his cell and put a match to the bed sheets. Each cell has a vent at the back that pulls air from the tier. When the Cuban set fire to the sheets, the current fed the flames, causing them to erupt like needles from a dry Christmas tree. Streeter lifted the prisoner at the waist and slipped a thin steel chain around him. He snapped on handcuffs and connected them to the chain, making it impossible for the Cuban to raise his hand more than 5 inches from his stomach. Then the guards lifted him onto a wire gurney so he could be transported to the prison hospital. Smith and Myhan followed. "What's the story?" Smith asked. "He's in love," Myhan replied. "He and his cellmate are homosexuals and had a fight, so we moved the cellmate. Now he wants him back." In an examining room, a prisoner doctor flashed a tiny light in the inmate's pupils, removed one of his socks, and began tapping his foot. Even the right ankle had a tattoo. The Cuban yelled something in Spanish. "He says he will kill himself unless you move his friend back into his cell," said one of the guards, a Hispanic. There was another yell. "He says he hates all guards. He says he will kill a guard if you don't move his friend back." More yells. "He says he started the fire and will keep starting fires until we move his friend back." "Tell him we are going to take an x-ray," the doctor said. "Tell him not to move." The guard repeated the doctor's orders and the Cuban became rigid. "Okay," the doctor said after taking the x-ray. "Give me a few more minutes and then I think you can take him back. He seems all right." Smith turned to Myhan. "Better 4-point him for a while. We can't have him starting fires." The Cuban yelled. The guard interpreted. "He says he will kill himself. He says he will kill himself unless you move his lover back. He says he doesn't care about anything. We can do anything to him, but he will keep setting fires until we move his lover back." Smith and Myhan ignored this. The doctor announced that the prisoner could be returned to C cell house and gave him a Dixie cup with a pill in it. Still in handcuffs, the inmate bent down and sucked the pill into his mouth. The doctor held up a cup of water to his lips. The Cuban walked back into the main penitentiary building on his own and was taken by guards to a cell in C cell house, not far from cell 124. Other Cuban prisoners shouted to him, but he didn't reply. The Spanish-speaking guard ordered him to lay on his back on the bed, and the guards chained his feet, 1 foot at each corner, then unfastened the belly chain and pulled it from under him. One officer unlocked the handcuffs, another pinned the Cuban's arms against his chest. One swung the convict's right arm back and chained it in one swift motion to a ring welded onto the bed. The prisoner didn't resist. Then his other limp arm was pulled back and chained. Finally, he yelled. Instead, they filed out one by one, the last guard locking the door and padlocking the chain strung through the bars. From the corridor, you could see the Cuban's smoke-blackened face. Alone now, he began to cry. For the next 15 minutes, he sobbed unshamedly in the cell, and then he fell asleep.